This is the story behind Anne Frank. The story behind Anne Frank is a fascinating look at the life of a 13-year-old Jewish girl who received a diary for her birthday and dedicated her days sharing her hopes, fears, and dreams on the pages of this diary she called Kitty. Anne was born in Frankfurt, Germany, but lived most of her life in Amsterdam, Holland. Her family left Germany when she was 4 after the Nazis took over the control of Germany. Anne shared some of the terrible things the Jews were forbidden to do, like ride their bikes, go on trains. They could only shop between 3 and 5 p.m. and only in Jewish shops that said Jews shops. In July 1942, the Frank family and the Van Pelt family, who they had known, went into hiding. There were 7 of them at the time who lived in the secret annex. It was hard for the two families to blend at times. In her diary, she wrote about the typical days and what they looked like. The total space that they shared was 450 square feet, and the relationships between her and her mom and her sister were kind of strained at times. This is the only existing film image of Anne Frank that was captured in 1941. Anne had hoped to go back to school when they would be able to finally leave the secret annex. Most of her time in hiding was spent reading and studying. She wrote in her diary that she had hoped to become a journalist. She wanted to bring happiness to all people. A quote from one of her diary entries was, "When I write, I can shake off all my cares, my sorrow and despairs, my spirits are revived." Anne had started to rewrite her diary when the secret annex was discovered. All 8 people in the annex were arrested by police on August 4th, 1944. The 2 people that had helped Anne and her family were also the ones who found and saved her diary before the Nazis found them. At age 15, Anne's diary ended abruptly when the Nazis broke into the secret annex in Amsterdam. The morning of August 4th, 1944, all 8 people were arrested and 2 days later sent to a concentration camp in Holland. A month later, most of the others with Anne were sent to Auschwitz, what was called the death camp, located in Poland. Anne and her sister Margot were spared their death in the gas chambers in Auschwitz. They were sent to a Bergen-Belsen concentration camp in northern Germany. Their mothers stayed in Auschwitz camp. 5 months later, Edith Frank died at Auschwitz of starvation. A month later, in March 1945, Anne and her sister sadly died at Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. They died of typhus. This you get from infected mice, lice, and fleas. Their bodies were thrown into a massive grave. Anne Frank's father was separated from his wife and children and sent to an Almans concentration camp. He was the only survivor out of all that had gone into the hiding in the secret annex. Otto Frank returned to Amsterdam. The war was over. He was given Anne's diary that had been found and saved by his secretary. In 1947, her father published her diary, called The Diary of a Young Girl. Anne's last entry into Kitty was dated December 5th, 1942. She had added text later in later dates. Anne Frank was just 15 years old when she died.